Good afternoon, everybody. I welcome you all for the sixth session of Professional Ethics and Indian Constitution. So in the last class, we have discussed about respect for others, living peacefully, caring and sharing. So these were the topics that we have discussed in the last class. So today we'll discuss about two more topics, that is honesty and courage. What do you mean by honesty and what do you mean by courage? So these are the two topics what we're going to discuss in today's session. That is fine. What do you mean by honesty? You can call honesty means truth. You can call telling the truth is nothing but honest. What you call honesty is a virtue, and it is exhibited in two types or two aspects, namely so truthfulness and trustworthiness. What you call so honesty is nothing but a good quality or a virtue. What you call yes. So it's a good quality or a virtue. So honesty is a virtue and it is exhibited in two aspects, that is truthfulness and trustworthy. Trusting, believing in others. We trust you, what do you call? So truthfulness, telling the truth, we call. First one, what do you mean by truthfulness? Truthfulness is to face the responsibilities upon telling the truth. Whatever you're telling, if you're telling the truth, even sometimes truth may be telling the truth also may be harmful sometimes. Yes. So you need to face some action there. Yes. So you maybe face some reaction or whatever it is. So truthfulness is to face the responsibilities upon telling the truth. One should keep one's word or promise. So you're taken some money from your friend and you told that I'll be paying it after 15 days. So you should pay the money after 15 days. If you're unable to pay, so just inform that, yes, I'm unable to pay after 15 days. Give me some more time some more time. That is what we call truthfulness. So keep your promise. You're committed that you're going to pay after 1 week or 2 weeks, but you're unable to pay. But at least you have got a courtesy to tell them that I'm unable to pay after 15 days. You give me some more time. That is what we call. So by admitting one's mistake committed, it is easy to fix that. So if we accept whatever the mistake we are doing it, so if we accept it, then we can rectify that. We may not repeat the mistake. Then next time, we will not repeat the mistake. That comes. Then reliable engineering judgment, maintenance of truth, and communicating the truth only when it does good to others are some of the reflections of truthfulness. What are the reflections of truthfulness? What do you call maintenance of truth, defending the truth, yes, communicating the truth only when it does good to others, some of the reflections of truth. So when you tell truth always, what you can call, you'll be defending the truth, yes, what you can call, all those things. It will be always a good one, what you can call, yes, fine. Yes, so that is about your honesty. Some of the things we discussed again in honesty, that is fine. Next is trustworthiness. 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 Trustworthiness is maintaining integrity and taking responsibility for personal performance. What is trustworthiness? Maintaining integrity. Somebody has given money to you to keep with you. So whenever they are asking, you need to repay them. That is what you call, you're keeping a trust. Or if they are given you some responsibility that you may do the job, so you should be able to do the job. What you can call that. That is what we call. So trustworthiness is maintaining integrity and taking responsibility for personal performance. You are given a responsibility to do some task. Yes, you have to fulfill it. That is what you call trustworthiness. So you have got a capacity to do it. You have to do it. Even if you're unable to do it, get the things from somebody else, or you ask somebody and get it done. That is what we call trustworthiness. Responsibility for personal performance. People abide by law and live by mutual trust. So we are living by trust. Yes. So what again, we take money, we share money, we take and give money, we take and give, or we believe in somebody else. If we're given the work to somebody else, we trust that he's going to do it. So without trust, we cannot live it. So if you're not trusting anybody, you cannot get the work done. So we live with mutual trust. We assign some work to somebody. We hope that he's going to do it. We are trusting him that he's going to do it. So that is what we call. So we are living with the trust, mutual trust, everybody. So without the trust, we cannot live at all. Yes. They play the right way to win according to the laws or rules. If you keep the trust, then you'll be successful, or you'll be winning maybe in your job or whatever it may be there. Yes. So you'll be a successful one in when you what you call keep the trust. What you call. They build trust through reliability and authenticity. What you call. So how they build the trust is built through reliability and authenticity. So to reliable, so they trust you, they rely you, and authenticity. Yes, they admit their own mistakes and confront unethical actions in others and take tough and principled stand even if unpopular. What we call it. Yes. So suppose if you've done some mistake, accept that mistake, and that mistake may be very the grave. What you can call, but you have to face that consequences. There. Yes, and confront unethical actions in others and take some tough and principled stand, even it may be unpopular. Some people may not like it, but you are forced to take that decision. What you can call it. You are forced to take that decision. What you can call it. Is it clear? That is what they admit their own mistake and confront unethical action in others and take tough and principled stand, even if it is unpopular. Some people may not like what the action you have taken because they might have done some mistake and you have taken as an authority, you have taken some action. But some people may not like it, but you are forced to take that action, what you can call it. Is it clear? Yes, that is about your trustworthiness. Somebody can read those points about trustworthiness. Somebody.
Trustworthiness is maintaining integrity and taking responsibility for personal performance. People abide by law and live by mutual trust. They play the right way to win according to the laws or rules. They build trust through reliability and authenticity. They admit their own mistakes and confront unethical actions in others and take tough and principled stand even if unpopular.
So that is about your trustworthiness. We'll see what else is that. Yes. Next, honesty is mirrored in many ways. How it is reflected. Honesty, how it is reflected there in different ways. We all this comes under honesty. What are these? We're going to discuss. Honesty is mirrored in many ways. The common reflections are the most common beliefs. We believe somebody else. Yes, you tell you to do something, or if you tell something, you believe it. That's what belief. Intellectual honesty. What communication? So we write and speak. What you're speaking through a phone, through a mobile, or we're writing a letter, or we're writing a mail, something like that. Communicating with each other. Decisions or ideas or discussion. You take some decision. Yes, when the exam has to be conducted and so on, whatever maybe the decision you can call that. Yes, so decision. Yes, fine. Ideas or discretion. Actions. Actions means what? Means timing, place, and the goals. What when you have to do, when you have to come. Yes, when what is the work assigned to you, where you have to go, what is your goal, you have to complete the project in particular time, you have to complete the exam within 1 hour, and so on. You need to submit the assignment after 2 weeks, and so on. Some actions. Yes, intended and unintended results achieved. Sometimes intentionally you achieve the results, or sometimes unknowingly also you'll commit the what you call you'll do the things. That is what you call. So these are the common ways of what you can call honesty. Honesty is mirrored in many ways. So these are the common reflections, what you call. Yes, what are those? Beliefs, communication, decisions, actions, and intended and unintended results achieved there. So knowingly also you may achieve it, or unintentionally also you may achieve some results. So once again, somebody read these points.
Honesty is mirrored in many ways. The common reflections are beliefs, communication, decisions, actions, intended and unintended results achieved.
Yes. So these are the what are these? These are the common reflections of honesty, what you call. So honesty is mirrored in many ways. So these are the some of the reflections of honesty. It can be a beliefs or communicating decisions, actions, intended and unintended results. It's fine. Next. Next, some of the actions of an engineer that leads to dishonesty. Which are the actions that leads to dishonesty? We're going to discuss it here. For example, telling lies. Yes, telling lies is nothing but what you can call dishonesty. You are lying. You're giving some wrong information there. Yes, lying. First, see the first one is dishonesty. Lying. Honesty implies avoidance of lying. What honesty will say? Honesty will say that always you should tell the truth, but you're not telling the truth. That is nothing but you're lying. It's fine. That is what. So an engineer may communicate wrong or distorted test results intentionally or otherwise. Sometimes your program is working or the program is not working. So you may tell that the program is executing correct result. You may tell it yes. Sometimes yes. Sometimes you give wrong information to the right people. Then so your program is not working, and suppose for example the manager has given the task to complete the testing. Yes, and you are not completed it. What you will tell to the manager? Yes, I have completed the testing, and there are no bugs in the program. What happened? The work was assigned to you. You have not completed, and you're telling that it is a wrong information. So you're wrong. You have not completed the testing, and there may be bugs, yes, but still you're telling that you have executed the program and there are no bugs. What do you call it? Yes, fine. That is what. So it is giving wrong information to the right people. What you call it? Yes, your manager, you're telling wrong. You're not executed the program and there are bugs are there, but you're telling that you have executed the program or you tested the program and there are no bugs. That you're telling lies. That is wrong. Next, deliberate deception. An engineer may judge or decide on matter one is not familiar or with insufficient data or proof. It impress upon the customers or employers. This is a self-deceit. So you doesn't know the things, for example, on some other things, but you are forced to take decisions there, for example. Or engineer, he doesn't know. For example, computer science engineer is there. So can he give a statement on what you can call, for example, electronics component is there. So that component is working properly or not, he may not be knowing it. For example, oscilloscope. Oscilloscope is an electronic device. So where the computer engineer may not be familiar with. So that's what. So he cannot declare that the system or the component is working properly or satisfactorily. There. Yes, that's it happened. Deliberate deception. There. Yes, an engineer may judge or decide on matters one is not familiar or with insufficient data or proof. Is not having data or is not any proof there. But just to impress the customers, you may tell yes that the component may work fine. You may supply the component. Something you may tell that is wrong. That is what we call deliberate deception. Next, withholding the information. It means hiding the fact. You know some data, but you're not revealing it. Some important data is there with you, but you doesn't want to tell it. Withholding the information. It means hiding the facts during communications to one superior or subordinate, intentionally or otherwise. You know what is happening there. Yes, the project is not completed, but you're telling that it has been completed. So you're hiding some information, knowingly or unknowingly something. That is what we call withholding the information. It means hiding the facts during communication to one superior or subordinate, intentionally or unintentionally or otherwise. So these are some of the action that leads to dishonesty. Yes, somebody can they read the points? Somebody.
Some of the actions of an engineer that leads to dishonesty are lying. Honesty implies avoidance of lying. An engineer may communicate wrong or distorted test results, intentionally or otherwise. It is giving wrong information to the right people. Deliberate deception. An engineer may judge or decide on matter one is not familiar or with insufficient data or proof to impress upon the customers or employers. This is self-deceit. Withholding the information. It means hiding the facts during communication to one's superior or subordinate, intentionally or otherwise.
Yes. So these are the actions that leads to dishonesty or income. Yes, lying, deliberate deception, and withholding the information. Yes, some other. What is that? We'll see. Yes, what are these? Next, not seeking the truth. Some engineers accept the information or data without applying their mind and seeking the truth. Yes, what happened? Whatever the manager is there, the test engineer tells him that he has completed the project and there are no bugs. Simply he will accept it without checking that the test engineer has executed the program or whether he has generated the results or not. Whatever he is telling, he is accepted it, not checking the truth or seeking the truth. What we call whatever he has said is right or not. He is not checking it. That is what we call not seeking the truth. What we call it. Some engineers accept the information or data without applying their mind and seeking the truth. That So without seeing the results, he simply accepted. The test engineer has told that I completed the project, completed the program, executed, and there are no bugs. But the engineer or the manager has not checked it, but he has accepted. That is what we call not seeking the truth. So this also is a dishonesty. Next point, fifth one, not maintaining confidentiality. That is, you have developed a program and it's your program, and your program you are giving it to somebody else, maybe a other person who is working in company. It's a property of the particular organization. You are an engineer working in this company, you have been paid salary by this company, and you're developing the program for this company. But what you're doing, you're developing the program for this company as well as you're selling your code to somebody else, which is illegal, what you call. So you're not maintaining confidentiality. It is giving right information to wrong people, what you call. The engineer should keep information of their customers or clients or of their employees confidential and should not discuss them with the others. So you're in company, who are your customers, what they are selling or what they are purchasing, what they are supplying, that should be not be revealed to somebody else. Is it? That is what we call. If you reveal, then that means you're not maintaining confidentiality. So you should maintain the confidentiality. Like for example, we are conducting the exams, yes, practical exams. We know your results, but we should not convey to you. That is what we call maintaining confidentiality. What we call. So we know your results, but we should not convey to you. So you'll be knowing the results at the end when the results are not. But still, we know your practical exam results. We should not convey to you. We should keep it confidentiality. That is what. Next, sixth one, giving professional judgment under the influence of extraneous factors such as personal benefits and prejudice. Sometimes what happens, judges or you may take some decision based on, you may be biased, maybe of some political pressure, maybe by politician, or maybe by your relative, or maybe by some what do you call, some other factors, maybe like some gifts or something like that. Yes, that happens. Giving professional judgment under the influence of some extraneous factors, the personal benefits. You will be paid some commission, for example. You place an order for so many items, you'll be given some incentives. So that is what we call. So it should not happen there. So placing the order based on a particular some benefits, is some help or internal or external, financial or any other help. Is the loss, experience, social welfare, and even conscience are given a go by such action. Certainly, this is a higher order crime. So you should not follow the sixth one by pressure or by politics or by money or any other help. So if you take a decision, that is wrong. So giving professional judgment under the influence of extraneous factors such as some benefits, you'll be paid some incentive or you'll be paid some benefits extra, yes, and prejudice. So this is again these are the three next what you call the factors that leads to dishonesty. Somebody read this once again.
Some of the actions of an engineer that leads to dishonesty are not seeking the truth. Some engineers accept the information or data without applying their mind and seeking the truth. Not maintaining
Confidentiality.
Yes, confidentiality. It is giving right information to wrong people. The engineer should keep information of their customers or clients or of their companies confidential and should not discuss them with others. Giving professional judgment under the influence of extraneous factors such as personal benefits and prejudice. The loss, experience, social welfare, and even conscience are given a go by such actions. Certainly, this is a high order crime.
So these are the factors that leads to dishonesty or actions lead to dishonesty. Yes, fine. So these are the things what we have discussed about the honesty. So we discussed about honesty. So honesty, the different reflections are there. We have seen what is honesty. We have discussed. Honesty is a virtue or good quality that is described in two ways: trustfulness and trustworthiness. That is what we have discussed. Then again, we discussed about the reflections of honesty: beliefs, communication, decisions, actions, and intended and unintended results. Then we discuss, so some of the actions that leads to dishonesty are lying, telling lies, deliberate deception, withholding the information, not seeking the truth, not maintaining confidentiality, and giving professional judgment under the influence of other factors. So these are the actions that lead to dishonesty. So these are the things what we need to discuss about honesty. Next, we'll come to the courage. What do you mean by courage? So courage can be defined, or it is a tendency to accept and face risk and difficult tasks in rational ways. What is a courage? You should be able to face something in some unexpected situation happens that, for example, something has happened to your parents. You should be ready to face it. Or something, suppose you have met with an accident, or your friend has met with an accident. So such situation you should be ready to face. We call that as a courage. Courage is a tendency to accept, face, and risk and difficult tasks in rational ways. A difficult task, unexpected things happens. So that is what you call, you should be ready to face it. That is what you call courage. Courage is the tendency to accept and face risk and difficult tasks in rational ways. Self-confidence is the basic requirement to nurture courage. So when can we face the courage? If we are confident or yes, I can do it, or I can face it. Self-confidence is the basic requirement to nurture courage. So if you are confident, then you can be a courageous also, what you call it. It's fine. Yes. So courage we classify into three types: physical courage, social courage, and intellectual courage. What is that? We're going to discuss all these three types. Yes, somebody read it.
Courage is the tendency to accept the face risks and difficult tasks in rational ways. Self-confidence is the basic requirement to nurture courage. Courage is classified into three types, based on the types of risks: physical courage, social courage, intentional courage.
So there are three types of courage: physical courage, social courage, and intellectual courage. Yes, we'll discuss. It's fine. What is that? The intellectual is fine. The physical courage, first one. In physical courage, it's fine. In physical courage, the thrust is on the advocacy of the physical strength, including the muscle power and armament. So physical, should be physically fit, you should be healthy, you should have muscle power and so on, strength enough to face it. That is what you call physical courage. Like for example, a bodybuilder. So he's physically fit. He can face any builder, you can call. He can wrestler. He's physically fit. He can face any wrestler. He can compete with any wrestler. We can call that as physical courage. The thrust is on the advocacy of the physical strength, including the muscle power and armaments. People with high adrenaline may be prepared to face challenges for the mere thrill or driven by a decision to excel. As I told you, the wrestling or boxing competition, they are all the examples for physical courage. They are ready to face it. They want to enjoy that. So they are very interested in they are physically courageous to face the wrestlers or the bodybuilders, what you call this. That is what. So they enjoy it. That is what you call physical courage, what you call. The people are ready to face such type of courage. They build their bodies and they're ready to fight. So boxers, builders, bodybuilders, or wrestlers, all such things. It's fine. Next, social courage. What do you mean by social courage? The social courage involves the decisions and actions to change the order based on the conviction for or against certain socials. Is living, how you live with your friends, with your cousins, with your parents, with your neighbors, in your office or in your college, with your colleagues, how you live it. That is what you call social courage. So what are the decisions you take there? The social courage involves the decisions and actions to change the order. So you are the head of the institution or you are head of the department. You should take a decision on a particular time, whatever it is. That is what you call social courage. The social courage involves the decisions and actions to change the order based on the conviction for or against some certain social, actions. Yes? Is it clear? So you should take should be socially the decision to be taken to change the order. That is what you call social courage, what you call it. It's fine. Next, this requires leadership abilities. This requires leadership abilities, including empathy and sacrifice, and to motivate the followers for the social cause. So to have social courage, you should have leadership qualities. Head of the institution. So you may be head of the institution, you may be the principal, but you should take a good decision. Sacrifice empathy or sympathy to and motivate the followers for the social cause. Not only you should take a decision, you should also motivate your colleagues to support you, whatever the decision you're taking. You may take a decision, but you should have also sympathy and sacrifice, and you should motivate your team members to follow you. That is what we call a social courage. What you call. Is it clear? Second type of courage. Next. The third one is the intellectual courage is inculcated in people through acquired knowledge, experience, games, tactics, education, and training. You go for extra training. If, for example, you want to participate in some sports. So you may go swimming, for example. You want to become a swimmer. You go for a swimming pool, get trained by special experienced sports person there. By just practicing at home, somewhere you cannot be a swimmer, or you want to be an athlete. So you go for a special training there, or you want to become what do you call a software engineer, or what do you call a scientist. So you prepare some special exams. You prepare some special skill exams, or you undergo training. Yes, something like that. So that is what we call intellectual courage. So the intellectual courage is inculcated in people through acquired knowledge, by studying hard, getting some information, putting more efforts through experience. Suppose you are unable to pass through the exams first time. Second, like for example, your IAS exams. IAS exams are very difficult to get through. So first time you are not able to get through. So again you put efforts and prepare second time. So then third time you may get through. So based on the experience, you may be able to pass through the IAS exam, UPSC exam, what we call. For civil services, there is a heavy competition for that. You cannot pass through the exam in the single attempt. So what you can do, based on the first attempt or second or third, you may get through it. That is what we call intellectual courage. In professional ethics, courage is applicable to the employers, employees, public, and the press. So in here, the courage should be there for everybody. Employees also should have a courage. Employees also, the public also, and the press also. So that is about your courage, what you call. Yes, next. Yes, then facing the criticism, owning responsibility, and accepting the mistakes of errors when committed and expose are the expressions of courage. Suppose you have done wrong something, yes, and somebody is scolding you or something, or you accept your responsibility, yes, I've done it wrong. So, face it. Facing that your mistakes also, or facing the criticism, is also a courage, what you call. Everyone cannot face criticism. So facing the criticism also is a courage, what you call. Accepting the mistakes of errors when committed and expose are the expressions of courage, what you call. Facing the criticism, and you're responsible for that mistake. Yes, I have done that mistake. Should be ready to face it. Yes, that is what you call courage, you can call. When you committed some mistake, and you should be ready to face those mistakes, what you call. That is what you call the courage, what you call. Then one example is here. Professor Satish Dhawan, he was the chief of ISRO, was reported to have exhibited his courage and own responsibility when the previous space mission failed, but credited Professor APJ Abdul Kalam when the subsequent mission succeeded. What happened? See, Dr. or Professor Satish Dhawan, who was chief of ISRO, what he did when the missile mission failed, he took the responsibility. Yes, I have done the mistake. I have accepted that mistake. But when the same mission was successful, he did not take the credit. He gave the credit to APJ Abdul Kalam, the former president. Can call. See, that is what you should be ready to face the courage, mistakes that. You should be ready to face the mistake or criticize when mistake is happened. That is what we call a courage. So the example is here that he was very courageous to accept the mistake, and when the mission was successful, he has not taken the responsibility. He has assigned or credited the responsibility to somebody else. That is Professor APJ Abdul Kalam. That is what. So you should be ready. This is an example for a courage, what you can call this. Then courageous people own and have shown the following characteristics. The people who are courageous, they have got or they are having the following characteristics. What is that? Perseverance. They are ready to hard-working people. Like as the example of Satish Dhawan, he's the chief of ISRO. They're continuously working. They're very hard-working people. Then experimentation. Preparedness to face the challenges, unexpected or unintended results. So they're ready experimenting, they are doing research, they are ready to face the challenges, expected results or unexpected results, whatever it is. The results may be anyhow. When you are doing experimentation, you may be successful or you may be unsuccessful, but you should be ready to face it, what you call. So they are ready. That is what you call. All the courageous people they are having the following characteristics. What is it? Perseverance. They are very hardworking. Experimentation. They are ready to face the challenges. It may be expected or unexpected results. And involvement. They are always involved. They have a clear attitude and firm, determined. Yes, I want to do it. Clear and firm, and they resolve, they determine, yes, I want to do it, whatever may be the case. It may take 5 years or 10 years. I want to implement the particular project. That is what we call involvement. Then committed. They are very, very committed, willing to get into action and to reach the desired goal by an alternative but ethical, whatever may be the case. If suppose, for example, the government is not sponsoring, I am ready to spend, or he may get the funds from somebody else to implement the project. You are committed. So these are the characteristics of courageous people, what we can call. Is it clear? So perseverance, experimentation, involvement, and commitment are the characteristics of the courageous people. Yes. So these are the things what we need to discuss in the today's class. So in the today's class, we have discussed about 2 topics. Which are those 2 topics what we discussed today?
Honesty and courage.
Honesty and courage. Yes. So in the last class, I mean today's class, we discussed about courage. So courage has got the following characteristics. The courageous people have got the following characteristics. Which are those characteristics? Can somebody tell me?
Perseverance, experimentation,
involvement, commitment.
Involvement and commitment, what we call. So these are the characteristics of the courageous people. Yes, fine. Yes. So any other things? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay then. So we shall wind up the today's class again. Fine. Thank you, one and all.